a mocker, does not like to be reproved. So he'll joke around with serious stuff. And he won't come near the wise. Because a wise loves correction. A wise man wants to be corrected because that makes him a champion. And so when we're not corrected, we walk around, say with me, like fools. I don't want to be a foolish man. I want to walk in the wisdom of God. I want the Spirit of God that's upon me, 2 Corinthians 3:18, that says it goes transforming me from glory to glory. When I look at Christ, He's the model. He's the example. He is the person we need to speak like, talk like, act like, react like. He is the supreme God of the earth. It says we will go with unmasked faces. Take the mask off already. You're not fooling anyone. Take the mask off, the facade, the fig leaves. My dad, a brain surgeon. Okay, so if you're a brain surgeon and you're a man, no, my dad had no clue what it was to be a man. So when his son came to hug him, he rejected him. When his wife wanted a leader, he threatened divorce every month for 25 years. I'm going to leave you. I'm sick and tired. This is over. I can't handle it no more. I quit. I throw the towel. You're horrible. And so I live with an instability, because that's what a lack of manhood does. That's what a child. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. A child is being tossed to and fro from every wind that blows. But a man is an anchor. Have you tried to move an anchor? It's not going to budge. The Bible says here, he says that with unveiled faces, no fig leaves, no more posing, no more pretending, no more faking it, but that we're supposed to behold the Lord's glory. It says like looking into a mirror. Put the King James on there. King James, it says looking into a mirror. The Lord's glory, we're being transformed. Say with me, transformed. Into His image. Beholding as into a mirror the glory of the Lord, being transformed into the same image. Say with me, same image.
Same image.
That's the alphabet. It's not upside down, it's not sideways. We can write a word out if we all get on the same page. Every single one of us should line up to the character of Christ, being transformed into the same image from glory to glory. Am I there yet? No. But one thing I do, I'm going in that direction. Every day I want to be more and more and more and more and more and more like Jesus. I want when people see me, when people see you, they're seeing the manifestation of God's glory upon the earth.
Yes.
That's what He created us for. We're the only things after His image and likeness. And we have distorted that image and likeness because of all the lies. Everything we've heard. Lies are being launched daily to us. We're being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. So we have this much. If we're going to be a man, it requires the surrender of our will. Not my will, thine be done. You didn't like that, did you? The cross is what God has given us. To not do what you want. To not go where you want. To not speak like you want. My son was turning 13 years old. And at that time, he understood that if he was going to get onto manhood, the next day he would turn 13, he needed to put away his toys. Are you prepared to put away your toys? A lot of men get angry at me when I say this. And God has bigger responsibility for you than your toys. Amen. And so my son, with 12 years old, he says, Dad, I said, yes, son. He says, tomorrow I turn 13. Yes, son, you do. And I want to get on with my manhood. Yes, son, you should. And he says, so today, I'm still 12. I want to go to Chuck E. Cheese for the last time. Woo! Yes! Put away your immaturity. Make a distinction. Draw a line in the sand. He's grown up now. He's 20. And 6 months ago, he's 19. And he comes up to me and he says, Dad, I'm going to go get a job. I said, that's a great idea, son. I got an interview. I got my resume. I'm going to go to the job interview. I said, you go there. And you do what you're supposed to do. But don't get the job until you come back and talk to me. I'm going to let him tell you the rest of the story. Nick Molina.
I went to my dad, and I told him, Dad, I think it's, I've been seeing things, and I'm always asking for money to when I want to go out with my friends, when I look for gas, and things like that. And, I know that as a man, you continue into manhood with the more responsibility you take onto yourself. And as a child, you go through life, and you go and you go out with your friends, you go and you hang out, and you do as much yourself, but you don't really have to worry about much, right? Because your parents take care of all of it. But I was thinking, man, it's really time for me to start stepping it up. I want to continue growing, I want to continue maturing, and I want to continue walking towards what a man is. So I told him, Dad, I'm going to go out and get a job. And he said, all right, that's awesome. You're going to college, you've been able to get good grades, you've been able to maintain that responsibility, you've been faithful in that, so yeah, continue on. So I went, and a friend of mine had referred a job over to me, and I didn't know much about the job, but I knew that it was an opening. And so I went for it, and I went to go to hear about it. It was a marketing job. And so I told my dad about it. I'm like, Dad, I have this interview. I have my student's hat on, and I have my resume and everything, and I head out. He said, that's awesome that you have it, but don't, commit yourself until we talk about it first. So I said, all right, no problem. So I go to my friend's job place, and I'm looking around, and then I meet the gentleman there. He goes ahead and he interviews me, and I give him my resume, and he goes ahead and he's like, man, you're involved in a lot of things, because of church, school, and different things, different ministries, but also different activities I've been a part of. I had a long list of different things that I was able to participate in. So, it really impressed him. That's not to boast me up or to say anything, but, thanks be to God that I've been able to, participate in a lot of things through the ministry. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty involved in different things. I've been able to, maintain different leadership positions in different camps and different, youth groups and stuff like that. He said, wow, that's awesome. So he would go ahead, he asked me a couple questions. He explained to me what the job was, and he told me that, it's based on my own scheduling. I go ahead and I meet with clients individually, and for each hour that I do so, I get $15. And then on top of that, I have the option or the possibility of making a certain commission if I were to sell any of the products that I was, showing him. So I started thinking about all my other friends that are working as well. Some are working at a Publix or at a Walmart, different things like that, and they're making like $9 an hour, and they're making like $10 an hour, something like that. Minimum wage. I'm already making $5 more than them just on 1 hour. I schedule whenever I can, and I'm thinking, man, this is a great job. I'm gonna go, and then on top of that, if I sell something, then I'll get, commission off that, stuff like that. So I was pretty excited, and at the end of the interview, the guy says, all right, you're hired. I was like, what? I was like, this is my first job interview ever in my entire life. This is the first time I've ever applied for a job, and automatically, the first try is one and done, I got the job already, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. I'll call you back, but my dad told me to speak with him before I was able to fully commit to myself. I don't want to, tell you yes, and then you be left out with, an employee later on. He said, okay, no problem. So I go back home, I'm excited, I'm gonna make $15 an hour on my own appointments, on my own scheduling, and with a possibility of making commission off that. And I go and I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, they hired me. And I'm excited, because like I said, I'm trying to show him that, I can start pulling my own weight, so to speak, and I can start already moving in the direction of manhood, taking more responsibility on myself, leaving away, childish things, and pursuing, a Christ likeness and that maturity. And he tells me, that's great, but you're not doing that. And I was like, that interview was from like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got back home like at 5. It was an all-day process because once they interviewed me, they went ahead and they showed me how everything works. They showed me a couple of demonstrations and stuff like that. So I got home and I was like, I just wasted my entire Saturday. I got the job. It's $15 an hour. It's more than what all my friends are making. And you're telling me no? And he's like, I think that you should do something that's probably better than that. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, I just graduated high school. I've completed a year of college. I've never worked before. What better job can there be out there than this one I'm making? This is my first job. Like I said, I don't have any experience prior to that. And he says, I'm glad, I'm happy for you, and it's a joy to see that you're out looking for a job and that you're realizing that that's what manhood is, about taking responsibility on yourself, but you're not going to do that. And so I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, why don't you do something that I have in mind that's better for you. And I said, like what? He said, why don't you get a real estate license? And I was like, what is that? Oh, real estate like what? I knew it dealt with houses. I knew that it dealt with, you go to a house and you're like, well, this is the bedroom, this is the living room, but I didn't know anything else. He said, yeah, get your real estate license. And I was like, I don't even know how you get that. Like, how old do you have to be? Where are the steps to do that? How are you supposed to even get that stuff? And he says, well, you go to a real estate school, and they give you take a couple courses, you get your license, take the state exam, and he explains to me the whole process, and I was like, okay. So he goes, go on your laptop. And it was that day, it was 9 o'clock at night, he tells me, go on your laptop, look for a school and call them. So I was a little frustrated, as you can imagine. I was a little flustered, and I was just like, but I did it anyways, And I've listened to my dad my entire life. Thank God I've been obedient to him. I've been able to imitate his lifestyle, and how he's obedient to his dad and to his pastors and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do this. I'm happy with my $15 an hour scheduling whenever I can. But I did it anyways. So I called Gold Coast Real Estate School, and it just so happened that they had just started the day before the last course for 2014. So I called them and said, yeah, no problem, you can start. It's all right that you missed the first class, it's not a big deal. Just go ahead and sign up, and we'll go ahead. So I did. And so I looked at the different classes, and the only course that was available was Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. So that meant that on top of going to school, on top of the fact that my finals were coming up in the month of December, on top of all that stuff, I was going to have to go to school again for 4 hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that also meant on Fridays, from 6 to 10, I was not going to be able to go out with my friends for 4 weeks. So I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but, the crazy thing is in obedience is that it's not about what you want to do. It says in Hebrews 5:8 that Jesus learned obedience to the things he suffered. Why did he suffer? Because when you are obedient, it's not because you want to do it. And a lot of times, as men, we're so focused on doing things because it feels right to us, because it's convenient to us, because we feel comfortable doing it, but that's not what God has called us to be, and that's not the example that God gave us. The example he gave us is not my will, but yours will be done. While he was there in the Garden of Gethsemane sweating blood, saying, take this cup away from me. But at the end of it all, not my will. And so that's what I told my dad. I was like, not my will. I want to let you know that this is not my will. So I go ahead. I start going to school. It's 63 hours. So for a whole month, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, faithful. I went there, got a 6, came out at 10, 63 hours completed. So I finished the course, and I go ahead and I sign up for the state exam. And I was a little freaking out because the state exam is apart from Gold Coast or from any real estate school. This is from the state of Florida that they issue your license to get an exam with them, right? So I go ahead and I sign up, and 3 days prior to the exam, I'm in the library at my university, FIU, Florida National University. I'm there from the morning till nighttime, taking practice exams, reading the book, highlighting, circling, underlining, doing all this crazy stuff. And I wouldn't sleep, man. I would stay up as far as like 4 o'clock in the morning with class the next day just because I really did not want to miss the opportunity to finish the exam. Now that I'm really being obedient, now that I'm really doing this, I'm gonna do it all the way, 100%. So I go ahead and I'm studying, and then the day before I was like so frustrated because there was just so much information that like no more fit in my brain. And so I was like, I wonder, maybe I'll feel a little bit better if I know what the passing rate is. And that was a bad decision. So I look up online and I see that for the first time test takers, the passing rate for the exam is less than 30%. I'm a 19-year-old kid. There's people that are businessmen that go out there and are taking this test, and they're failing. There's even there's all these different professionals that are going out there taking this test and they're failing. How much more a 19-year-old kid after just a year of college under his belt, all these stuff, how is he gonna be able to go out there and take this stuff? But nonetheless, like I said, I went out there, talked to my dad. My dad was like, don't worry about it. He prayed for me, and he's like, man, at the end of the day, God's peace and wisdom and understanding is gonna be on your life. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. And I was like, all right. Showed up, this always happens to me, by the way. I show up to the testing center, and when I walk in, the first thing I see is there's a lady. She's so upset that she's at the counter. She's like cursing out the secretary. She's like, "How are you gonna tell me this is the 5th time I failed?" And it's like when I went to take my driver's license test, the same thing happened. I walk into the driving, to the driver's license place, and I go and I'm gonna get my driver's license, and the person before me, the same thing. They're like, "How are you gonna tell me that I failed? This is like the 3rd time I failed." And I'm like, "This is awesome." So I go in, talk to the secretary, and she's like, "Okay, here you go." She says, "So the test is 115 questions. You have to be in that room for almost 3 hours on a computer, and you go inside, and I went ahead and I started clicking different answers, reading questions, clicking different answers. Halfway through, I'm like, man, I failed. I'm done." And the questions to me were so complicated, and they were nothing like a practice exam and stuff like that. And I tried my best to remember all the different, definitions of words and vocabulary and the context of the different rules and stuff like that. But I was like, man, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna continue on. So I went on, finished the test. I had like 45 minutes left, so I was like, man, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start from the beginning and just review all my answers. So I went ahead and I was like, all right, this is a good practice run. And now for the next one, I don't know what to do. Because I thought I failed. I thought I bombed it. I thought I was done. So I get out the room. She goes ahead and she says, all right, just sit here on this chair and I'll give you your results in a bit. And so for the test, you have to get a 75% or higher, right? So I go ahead and when they give you your results, they usually have a number. And if you pass, you pass. They don't tell you how many you got right, how many you got wrong. They just tell you that you passed. When you fail, they tell you how many you got right or how many you missed. So she goes ahead, she prints off the sheet and she hands it to me upside down and flip it over, and I'm looking for a number all over that sheet. And I'm looking and I'm like, I can't find the number. I told her. And she goes, "No, congratulations." And I look again at my paper and I look, I said, "Results passed." I was freaking out because I was like, I think your computer made a mistake. I was showing her, like, I don't think I passed. And she goes, "You should be excited, you should be confident, you should be excited about yourself." And I'm just like, I cannot take any credit for, this. I cannot do that. I told her, I was like, man, this is all God. Like, you don't even know. So I go back and I told my dad I passed and stuff like that. We were so excited. And it just reminded me that when we move in the direction that our Father is leading us, even though we don't even know what's on the other side, we can't even see like Abraham. But Abraham moved anyways. And when God said, go, he said, amen, I'm going. And Abraham couldn't see the good things that God had for him. Abraham didn't even live long enough to see the end result, the great nation of Israel. But he moved regardless. And it was that same attitude. I said, man, I want to be like Jesus Christ, and that, that he was obedient even to the death of the cross. In Philippians 2, it says that because of that, because of the fact that Jesus decided to be obedient even to the death of the cross, that he denied himself, he humbled himself, he came to the earth, he became nothing. It says for that very reason that God exalted him and made him the King of Kings. That made Jesus the name above all the names. And so I was, me and my dad, we were excited. As you can imagine, I just got my first job. I signed up with a brokerage, and I go ahead and the first meeting that I ever go to, it was like 2 weeks after. It was a wealthy man from China had come in, and he was looking to buy a resort on Miami Beach, oceanfront. He was willing to buy a $90 million estate, and I was going to be his realtor. The commission for that would have been $1.3 million. The job I was going to get was $15 an hour to sell for Cutco scissors and knives. It was like a Mary Kay type marketing business. I don't know how many of that stuff I would have to sell to make $1.3 million. But at the end of that all, it didn't fall through, so don't come asking me for money. But the fact is that God